More document drama and more fallout after 5 more pages of classified documents were found at the president's residence. That is in addition to the documents already found at the home and President Biden's office at the Penn Biden Center. Joining me now to talk more about this, Dave Aronberg, state attorney for Palm Beach County, Florida, where, in fact, Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence is located, and the seizure of those documents happened months ago. Dave, good to see you this morning. So some Republicans are asking to see the visitor logs from the president's residence. This is complicated. Why?
Well, first, it's nice to know that they care about visitor logs now after they didn't care that the previous president refused to provide them. But at some point, the Biden White House may want to do it for the means of transparency. But, you know, look, this is an ongoing investigation now. And so whenever you have an investigation, a criminal investigation by a special counsel within the Department of Justice, you know, you have certain items that are off limits until after the investigation. You got to let the investigators do the work. You don't want to impede their jobs by letting the politicians rummage through things.
So there's 5 new documents that were found with the classified markings over the weekend, in addition to what they had already found. Is it more critical that he is in possession of the documents, or is it more important what those documents contain? For example, some are concerned about a threat to national security.
Yes, it is important what's in the documents. It's also important the volume of the documents that are seized. That's also what distinguishes this from the Mar-a-Lago documents. But look, if there are some documents in there that relate to sensitive matters of national security, then that would be a problem for President Biden. But whether or not he gets criminally charged eventually, remember, there's an internal DOJ policy that you cannot indict a sitting president, but whether or not he gets charged eventually will have to do more with intent. Did he intend to take the documents? Was he in personal possession of the documents? Did he try to obstruct justice? These are elements that appear to be with the Mar-a-Lago documents and not with the Biden documents. But admittedly, we don't know everything yet. We don't know what's in the documents. We don't know why they waited so long to announce this publicly. We don't know if Biden had personal access to the documents. So there's a lot of unanswered questions that will depend in the future about whether or not he faces some sanction.
Well, I mean, couldn't the same be said in both cases, in Biden's case and Trump's case, that their defense is, I didn't know we had these documents. Somebody who worked for me had them. They were stored on my property. Is that a defense for both of them? The I don't know. Does that hold up if criminal charges were to come?
Intent is important, so it would hold up if the defendant, whoever that would be, shows that I didn't know I had them. Other people had them. Yes, the problem for Trump is that his personal items were interspersed with the documents. Remember, they found his passport. They found those fake Time magazine covers all interspersed with the documents at issue. So it's hard for him to say, I didn't know they were there. Plus, there are reports that he instructed his employees to remove the documents to evade the overview of the archives and the DOJ. There is no allegation like that for Joe Biden. And so that is a key difference in this case. But of course, things could change as more information comes out.
Well, but Biden said, well, they were in a garage with my Corvette, which is a possession very important to me. So couldn't you also argue he should have known what was in his garage?
Well, I guess so. I mean, he is a former vice president. And yeah, I guess you could make the argument if his personal items were interspersed with that, if his clothing and passports and other things, yes. But if it's locked up in some area that he didn't put there, yeah, then that would be his excuse. Like, hey, I didn't pack my garage. There are lots of boxes there. But I mean, no, it's a fair point. If you can show that his personal items were interspersed with the classified documents, that would be a problem. But then you also have to show his intent. You have to show, remember, the only reason why we know about this matter relating to Biden is because Biden's people told the archives. That's the opposite of Donald Trump, who tried to prevent the archives from getting this information. So right now they look very different. But of course, as we've been saying, we don't know all the facts.
But does it come back to bite President Biden that, one, he went on 60 Minutes and said classified documents in President Trump's possession was wrong, it shouldn't have happened, and then he finds himself in this position, and also the fact that the documents were found in November by his team. He gave them to the National Archives, but it wasn't made public until so much later.
Those are political problems. That's why Senator Stabenow of Michigan said it was embarrassing what President Biden had said. Yeah, that's a political problem. And political problems will be dealt with in the court of public opinion and at the ballot box. But as far as prosecutors, like the special prosecutor appointed to oversee this. It is not a crime unless you have some sort of aggravating factor, such as intent, such as a huge volume of documents, such as obstruction. Those are the kinds of things that'll get you prosecuted for this. But mere possession without some sort of aggravating factor will not lead to criminal charges.
I just wonder, Dave, not that they're going to be running for office again, but former presidents, other former presidents, if they're talking to their staffs right now going, check all closets, check all boxes, make sure we don't have anything classified right now because everybody's doing a lot of digging. All right, good to see you as always, Dave.
Great to be with you, Marni.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.